Season review and summer transfer window time with Holme, but the big question is, where are we going to be playing next season? Hello and welcome to part 25 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kev and this is our summer season review transfer window extravaganza. We're literally at the end of the last episode. We've just played the game against Ashton on, is it Ashton, Ashford? Ash something. No one knows. We lost anyway. No one cares because it was a pointless game. We won the league and as you can see, Mick Powell finished top scorer. John Buckley was best player, top assists, best pass completion from Shane Phillips, etc. All the information's on there. Interestingly, we've made a profit for the season. I think a lot of the profit for the season, though, comes from the amount of money Enoch Nuhu has poured into the club over the course of the season. So I don't know if we can have a look at the annual income. So this season, income... Gate receipts 200,000, prize money 123,000, but there you go, investments of £250,000. So if we take out the £250,000 investment from Sir Enoch Nuhu, the profit for the season becomes a significant loss, £100,000 loss. But we did get £60,000 for winning the FA Trophy, so that's a big thing, plus another £8,000 for finishing first in the Northern Premier League. So this is the situation we've got going into this summer. We have no transfer budget, but we do have a massively increased wage budget. At the moment, we're spending £2,500 a week on our wage budget, although with bonuses and things and whatnot, and non-contract stuff, it goes up to just over £5,000. But there is a big chunk of money to spend. And I don't think we really need to strengthen the first team squad. If we sort this by average rating rather than by the players who played in that last game, where are we? There we go. So that is our standard first 11 plus Collins just outside it. But I don't think we're going to do any better than Buckley and Benson in midfield. Phillips, maybe. But if we have a look at Shane Phillips on the reports tell me Shane Phillips is already very well suited to the National League North and South, which is where we're going to be playing next year, and has the potential to be a League 2 player in the future. So Shane Phillips, as possibly the weakest link in our standard starting 11, is already good enough for the next league up and could get 2 divisions better as he gets older. So I don't know that we need to strengthen any of the first team squad. There's a few of them not on contracts, which we'll try and deal with. Hayden Carter, for example, wanted by Morecambe. That's a little bit of a worry because Morecambe are obviously a higher level than us and could just take him from us without any kind of fee. Similar with Davis and Critchlow Noble. We need to tie those two down to contracts as well. But then it's just a case of bringing in some promising youngsters to fill out the rest of the squad. We saw on the last day of the season that we don't really have any kind of strength in depth, and we were lucky this year that everybody stayed fit all season. In fact, if we go back here and sort this by appearances, our key players played a lot of games. Ever present, Mick Powell, Critchlow Noble, Manny Parry, Shane, obviously ignoring the last game of the season. But we've got 6 players who've all played more than 50 games. Davis on 49. Cottrell's played over 50 if you include subs appearances. Connor Stanley, who joined us partway through the season, played 42 games. Buckley, likewise, joined us just after the season started and has been ever present ever since. Same situation with Carter. There's not many other players who played very many games at all. So we need some strength in depth, and that's our job for the summer. But of course, we also need to try and work out where we're going to be playing next year. I assume we're going to get an announcement relatively soon. How do we get to the National League? We're going the wrong way, aren't we? We're going down. We need to go up to the National League. So, National League North. I'm looking for rules just to see what the rules are with stadiums. Does it have anything on here about stadiums? Where are stadium rules? Stadium requirements. Minimum stadium capacity of 3,000. Minimum stadium seating capacity of 250. So we don't meet the requirements. We definitely won't be playing at Homewood next year because Homewood... Where are we? Facilities. Homewood has a capacity of 636 and no expansion capacity. I made sure when we were setting it up, because we were putting it on a field, there was no expansion capacity. So we're going to need a new ground. There is lots of fields around home. There are places to put it, but I'm expecting in the very near future an announcement either of a new stadium or a ground share for next year, or probably both. Soon, I hope. Right, we have our end of season awards that have come through. So this is the overall best 11. So this is across is it 3 or 4 seasons we've done at this point? So this is our all-time best 11. A lot of familiar faces from this season in that team, obviously with the additions of Anthony Harris and Dean Morris really being the only ones who aren't part of this team. We will have a look at how some of the players who've left the club have been getting on, in addition to having a look at all of the Patreon youth players as well that we've some of them have had a couple of seasons now, but doesn't it have the where are we now thing anymore? Do we have to go and do this manually? So McNally isn't with us anymore. He's at Folkestone Invicta, who are playing in the Bostik League Premier Division and probably shouldn't have left. You'd have been in the National League now. Beeston as well, Max Beeston, who's now with Greenwich Borough, who are playing in the Bostik League East Division 1. He's moved around a little bit. So he left us after 31 games to go and play for Witton Albion. Then went to Gloucester, but never got in the Gloucester team and is now back down lower than he was when he started. Again, should never have left home, the silly goose. Dean Morris, what's he been doing for Rangers then? Now, still only valued at £49,000. I don't know if he's played any more times for the England under-19s. It looks like he has played a few games, actually, for the England under-19s. But for Rangers, he's played 12 times, 6 starts, 6 substitute appearances in the Scottish Premiership. He's got his first goal. He's got a couple of assists. He's not averaging over a 7 like he used to for us. But, I mean, he's still a very good player, isn't he? Dean Morris, still only 18 years old, which is ridiculous. And I can't believe his value's so low for a player who's played 12 times. A player has a future transfer arranged? What? He doesn't. That's weird. Still minor interest from home. He'll forever be on a shortlist, just like Anthony Harris will be. But Benson, Buckley, Cottrell, Powell, all still here. And then Anthony Harris, number 10 for Shrewsbury, also still only 18. He's valued at 11,000 with some clubs that want him. Some bigger clubs that want him as well, including Rangers. So Harris and Morris could join up again at Rangers. His contract was up at the end of this season, but he's had a 1-year contract extension with Shrewsbury looking at that. 17 appearances, only 1 goal in League 2 this year, but he did only start 8 games. But still, for a man who's scored that many goals for us, I would have expected a few more goals, and I'm a little bit surprised. I know he's only 18, but I'm a little bit surprised so many bigger clubs are interested in him when he's only scored 1 goal in the Football League. But I think any hope we had of re-signing Anthony Harris, and there was a little bit of hope when he was out of contract at the end of the year and not scoring goals, any hope of that is gone when you see the calibre of clubs that he's interested in. Now, obviously, because he went for a free out of contract from us, then there's not going to be any sell-on percentage. However, there might be a solidarity payment because he obviously came through our youth team. I'm not sure how the solidarity payments work. I think it's like 2% of the transfer fee. He's only worth 11 grand. So I don't expect he's going to go for a big fee, but there might be a little bit of money come through from Anthony Harris moving on. So our end of season awards. Player of the season goes to John Buckley, 54% of the vote for him. Connor Stanley second, then Ben Cottrell. Josh Benson scored goal of the season. Let's have a look at Josh Benson's goal of the season then. I mean, he scored a lot of screamers over the course of this season. It could be any one of those. I've not yet agreed with a goal of the season that I've seen in these awards at the end of the year. So let's have a little look, see if I agree with this one. Critchlow Noble crossed it, and then it falls to Cottrell on the edge of the area, who presumably is about to square it to Benson. He does, first time. You can't do a goal of the season unless it goes top corner. Still a very good goal, though. John Buckley gets signing of the season, coming in on a free, still only 21 years old. If we look on his report, he's another one who's very well suited to the league we're about to go into, and presumably has the potential to get better. Well, it doesn't mention anything. Oh, no, currently playing it close to his potential. So, although he's been very good for us this year, he might be topping out in the league we're about to go into, but that's been a cracking season by any way of judging it, and John Buckley also getting Young Player of the Season. So a bit of a clean sweep for Buckley other than the goal thing. Stats-wise, we've already looked at a lot of these when we were starting off the episode. In fact, we've looked at all of those, and that's our team of the season, which, again, you could pick that because that's the 11 players that always plays. It was always going to be team of the season. So our season review, obviously, it's been a good season. Won the double. Everyone's happy. Probably should have done better in the FA Cup. Maybe we'll do some of that next year. We still don't have a team leader at the club. Mick Powell and Manny Parry are our highly influential players. The board are happy. I should hope they blooming are. Back-to-back promotions and an FA trophy from Tier 7. We'll just start pre-season whenever we start pre-season. and then some other bits and pieces going on. So still no announcement about the ground. We are just going to have a look at the Patreon players as well, because it's going to become part of these season reviews, having a look at the Patreon players. Why am I looking on there? What I'm trying to find is my shortlist, because I know there's one who's left the club. I don't use shortlists very much. No, two who've left the club, in fact, from the Patreon lot. So Nathan Curry was the first one to leave. He's gone to play for Bradford under 18, still only 17, still a lot of potential. Hasn't played for Bradford yet, so he's one of the Patreon youth players. I don't know who James Clark is or why he's on this short list. Actually, he's not a Patreon player at all. He never came through our system, so let's just remove him from the short list. We don't need to know about him, so it's still only one of our Patreon boys who's moved on, plus two of our most promising youth players ever who we've already had a look at. But we'll just have a quick look into the youth team again to see the rest of them, to see how they're getting on. Auto, size, all columns, excellent. And we can usually just sort this like that. So this is where I have to pick out who are the Patreon ones and who aren't. I'm not going to look at every single profile, but you can see Lerick Fernandez has been out on loan. Let's see what he's been doing out on loan. He's not done anything. He has played a few games for us this season, but didn't play on his loan for Droylsden. That was worth going in. Ryan John we saw on the last day of the season. Josh Mann, he's been on loan at Hartlepool, right winger. It's not Hartlepool. That would have been a brilliant loan for him. He's been on loan. He's had two loans now, Chalvey Sports and Harefield United in the Spartan South Midlands League. He's still got a little bit of potential. Don't know if he's going to be one who makes the grade with us, so he needs to start improving and fast. I'm really just picking out the ones who've been on loan, because anyone who wasn't on loan we saw at the end of last season. I don't know if you're a Patreon player or not, Andrew Lovell. Let's assume you are, and that's what you've been doing. And then Kevin Shue, you're a goalkeeper. That's what you've been doing. You've been out at Melton. Jack Edinburgh is wanted by somebody. Who wants Jack Edinburgh? Jack Edinburgh is wanted by Leatherhead for a proper transfer. He's been out on. He's had 3 loans now: Southend Manor, Fleet, and Dunstable. Played 45 games at this point. Is he going to make it? You know what? Maybe. We'll have to have a look at him over the course of the summer. Sam Lines he's been out on loan at Welling Garden City, and a couple more. Ollie King has been on loan with Buckingham Town. That's what he's been doing. Henry Cheese. Obviously, if these are your players, you can just click on them and have a look in all the details and whatnot for them. But he's been at Glebe and Earlham. Matthew Ibanks. I think he's not a Patreon person. He's just one of our youths who've been off at Dunkirk. And that, I think, is that. No, there's Andrew Barter as well. Andy Barter, he's been on loan. Again, on his 3rd loan, Clapton, Ilford and Leverstock Green at this point. Andy, I'm sorry, I don't think you're going to make it, though. You're likely to move on. He might even be the first one of the Patreon youth players who retires and gets to re-roll and get a new player. But enough of looking at those youngsters. We will get back into patiently waiting to find out where we're going to play next season. Well, here we have the ground news. Board announced new stadium plans will go ahead. The Home Board today announced that the club had been granted planning permission to build a new stadium. Construction of Home Stadium, that name will absolutely be changing. I'll be consulting the Board of Directors about that soon. Will cost around £1.9 million, although this will be offset by the £95,000 we've received by selling Homewood. I mean, yeah, that's a massive upset. We've sold that field back to the lady who didn't want us to be there. The board are delighted to announce that they've been able to finance the project without having to secure any external funding. So Enoch Nuhu has just done that out of his own pocket. Is that what you're telling me? Additional funding for the project has been secured with a stadium sponsorship deal worth £50,000 and an £850,000 grant from the authorities. So Enoch Nuhu has put his hand in his pocket for £1 million. Oh no, he hasn't. He's just put us £600,000 overdrawn. Oh, I was about to give the man so much credit, but no, we've just got into our overdraft. Can you buy a stadium going into your overdraft? So we start building it now. It should be ready for next year. It's going to be 3,000 capacity. No mention of how much of that's going to be seating. Is it going to be all seater? I hope it's not for non-league, but no mention of how much of that is seating and how much is not. And in the meantime, we're going to be playing at Kiln Park. Where on earth is Kiln Park? Where are you, Kiln Park? Does it even say on here? Raunds Town. What on earth is a Raunds town? To Google Maps. So this is where Raunds is. Raunds is 20 miles away from home. We have to cross the A1 and then go into deepest, darkest nowhere. We're getting very dangerously close to Northampton territory. I mean, we're pretty much halfway between Northampton and Peterborough being there. I don't see why we couldn't just ground share with Peterborough. Or, I don't know, I guess perhaps it doesn't let you ground share with your rivals. But Corby, I guess Corby's part way as well. I guess the one advantage of being at Raunds for a year, with us being a team on the rise, is rather than us being that extra club from Peterborough, we're now a club that are equal distance, really, between Peterborough, Cambridge, Northampton, Kettering, Leicester's just up here. We could potentially start drawing in some new fans. And then we obviously move back to home next year and be that club just outside Peterborough again. That's where Raunds is. That's where we're going to be playing for the next year, in a bigger ground. Whew. Sir Enoch's put a little bit more cash back in. And we're still massively overdrawn. If we go back to the finances page, that's still a problem. I assume he's going to put a little bit more money in over the summer as well. He's obviously he's cashing in some bonds and whatnot, getting a little bit of cash together. And hopefully, by the time the season starts, that's not going to be in the red anymore. I hope. Transfer-wise, all we've really done so far is renew some contracts. Everyone who, if you panicked that there was anyone out of contract on this screen before, they now all do have new contracts. Although Manny Parry, Billy Collins have both gone down to non-contract contracts because I don't know if they're going to be first teamers next year. Billy Collins, I think we can probably do better. And we're trying to operate on a tight budget. Manny Parry, likewise, I think we can probably do better than 2.5-star players. So if they end up leaving, then so be it. Everyone else who was a fringe player has gone on a non-contract, though. So that includes the likes of Cameron Archer, Mark Helm. They're all on non-contracts. Jake Wright. So I'm happy to keep them around. They might feature. They might not. And the players who were out of contract or on non-contracts from the core first team are now all on at least 1-year contracts. So Carter, Davis and Critchlow Noble all signing 1-year contracts and extensions for Benson, and I think there were a couple of others who were out of contract at the end of the season as well. But big news, we've had our first proper money offer for a player. Connor Stanley, Gillingham, who are in League 2, want Connor Stanley. Connor Stanley is here for 2 years. He's got a 2-year contract ahead of him. Gillingham can do one. We're not selling Connor Stanley. Give me £500,000 and then you can then we'll let him go. But he's a proper player who Connor, why do you want to go there for? We've got you for 2 years. I'm inclined to just hold you ransom. Mick Powell, go do a Mick Powell. Yeah, Mick Powell did a Mick Powell. Excellent. Well, Anthony Harris looks like he's going to be moving on to the Championship despite only scoring 1 goal in League 2 last year. We want less of this, more of this, because I'm hoping a solidarity fee is a thing. And if we could get 30 or 40 grand in now, that's going to make a big difference to our financial situation. But we just got an offer for Cottrell as well from Boston that we've turned down. There are definitely clubs interested in some of our better players. Fringe players like Ryan McLean, I'm happy to let him go on the basis that we're probably going to be able to bring in better options once the 1st of July comes round and everybody gets released from their current clubs. Well, I hope I don't live to regret this one. Billy Collins has left. He's signed for Wealdstone, who are in the National League South. They're paying him far more than I would have done, £375 a week on a 1-year contract. I think we can do better. We now have to do better because we don't currently have a goalkeeper. It's almost the 1st of July, though, so let's not worry. Well, Anthony Harris has signed for Norwich. He's earning more money than Dean Morris, and we didn't get a penny. So obviously, those solidarity fees don't apply if you're super non-league like we were when he played for us, I guess. Good luck to him. He's absolutely never coming back. In fact, let's say that. Now he's at Norwich. I wonder when we tick over to be a National League South team properly. I wonder. Because he's not going to get in Norwich's team. The clear out of fringe players continues. Mark Helm has joined the ever-growing list of our players who've gone to Southend. They're paying him real money. We weren't going to pay him real money. We paid him real money last year, but he didn't get the job done, so he can go and play for their under-23s. And we need to buy better backups in midfield. I really hope this doesn't come back to bite me. I just want to have money to play with on the 1st of July. We're going to have money to play with. We're going to bring in some good free transfers, I hope. Well, we've ticked over into the new season and got our season expectations. It's border insane. Reach playoffs. FA Cup first round, FA Trophy first round. We should be able to manage that in a tournament we won last year. But they want us to challenge for promotion again. This is nuts. Squad selection rules, no more than 5 players. Let's have a look what the media think. So, season preview. Media think we're going to finish 4th. Interesting. We did get a notification come through in the inbox a couple of days previously saying that as a result of our FA Trophy win, we had a significant boost to our reputation. So I guess that's what's happened. Looking at the highlighted star players, Mick Powell, still the best player in the division. Connor Stanley, best striker in the division. Connor Stanley is our other key player but doesn't make it into the media dream 11. But Mick Powell is in the media dream 11 at this level as well. So I guess we need Mick Powell to do a Mick Powell again. And it certainly doesn't look as comfortable as going into the Northern Premier League last year did. But then I guess if we're aiming for playoffs, we can avoid promotion and just do playoffs for a year, back to back to back, and I think it will kill us. I mean, I don't even know if the new ground is going to be suitable for the next level than the next level. We need to slow things down a little bit, or else the infrastructure is not going to keep up with the team. But at the same time, with the likes of Powell and Stanley, we need to be able to keep them at the club. They both have signed contract extensions, by the way. They're now on 3-year deals, both Mick Powell and Connor Stanley. So our 2 best players are here for the foreseeable. But we have to have another good season. Let's see if now we've had a reputation boost and we're now in a higher division. Let's see if that's enough to get Anthony Harris on loan for the season. We'll make the offer anyway and see what happens. And now we await the 1st of January. And this is going to take forever because we're removing some of the lower leagues to make the game run a bit quicker. I'm pretty sure... Oh, it didn't. That obviously hasn't happened yet. But I'm pretty sure this is the last you're going to see of me wearing these clothes because I've got things to do now. So I'll finish this video tomorrow. Good job I started it a day early, eh? Kev, get changed now. Bet I forget to click my fingers on the other side. Well, not only is it a different day, but I've recorded another episode of Non-League to Legend between this and it didn't save properly. I think we only lost like a day. Oh, yeah, there's the other half of the click. I mean, that will edit together beautifully. I don't think we've missed anything. I think all it had done, because it's just killed off some of the extra leagues. Let's have a look, add remove leagues. Yeah, because it's just killed off some of the lower leagues that we don't need anymore. It didn't really save properly. It got a bit confused, but it looks like it has made it through. So I'll stop waffling and we'll continue waiting for the 1st of July because things are about to get transfery. Right, 1st of July has come around and, I mean, the squad's looking all right, apart from the fact we have no goalkeepers. If we just sort this by first team squad, all positions, and just have a look. Ability-wise, I mean, we know who the best players are going to be. We know who the top potential players are going to be. We just need to sign a goalkeeper, and I think our first 11 is sorted. So I'm not going absolutely crazy offering trials. I have asked my director of football for recommendations for all positions, and I've offered all of them trials. So there are plenty of trials that have been offered, but not a crazy amount of trials. Although they're not showing on there. Oh, there, because that's outgoing trials. Here we go. I say I'm not going crazy. There's probably a good 30 or 40 trials I've offered. Plus, I went to my scouting page, and any players who are currently available for free who were green, so anyone above 65 on a scout rating, they've been offered trials as well. But I'm not going to go through loads of release players and really scour the game because I don't think we necessarily need to. And what we learnt last year, if we have a look at when our best players from last season actually signed, it's the players who sort of show up on the scout reports a little bit later on who end up being the absolute superstars. So if we have a look at when players signed, Connor Stanley didn't sign until the 1st of October. John Buckley, the 17th of September. Who else? Hayden Carter didn't come in until towards the end of August. So these are players who are properly established first-team players now, and we didn't even know they existed on the 1st of July last year. On the flip side of that, Billy Collins, Manny Parry, they were both already here by this point last year. And we signed Critchlow Noble in the first batch, Josh Benson in the first batch. So there's going to be decent players who we find now. I'm not going to panic if we don't find them all at this stage, though. And I'm not going to go through every single one as they come in. I'll perhaps update you maybe once a week throughout the transfer window just to show you players as we sign them permanently. Junior Morace doesn't want to come in. That's a bit sad because he's a former Posh player. In fact, it's not that he doesn't want to come. He's currently at Stowmarket and they don't want to let him come here on trial. Well, let's just scout him then, I guess. Trying to just bring him in on trial, but apparently that's not okay. Right, we've made our first batch of signings and I think I've been quite reserved compared to my normal nonsense. We've actually brought in fewer players than we've let go at this stage. Obviously, that's going to change very soon, but we'll have a quick look at them. Ike Pozo is a new central midfielder / defensive midfielder. He's coming from Manchester City. He's a Spanish under-20 international. It's ridiculous that we can sign this calibre of player. He's not quite first team ready in either position, but he's very close in both of them. Will offer some good competition for places. If not, make one of those positions his own. Who knows which one he might force his way into. But he's come in on a 1-year contract. He is on a key player contract. He needs to play some games fairly quickly, but I thought he was just so good and able to cover 2 positions naturally. It just seems sensible to bring him in. So Pozo is in. We also have a new right back, Mohamed Diallo, 21-year-old Ghanaian. 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential, roughly equivalent quality to Harrison Davies, which is what we were looking at really. We just wanted someone who was very well suited to National League North football and could get better with time. He's coming in on a free from Stoke, so he'll offer competition for Davis. Our first goalkeeper who's arrived this summer is Harrison Mayle, 20 years old. He's going to be our first choice keeper unless something better comes up. He played all last season at this level for Alfreton, or half last season at this level for Alfreton. He's about as good as Collins was, but has potential to improve, which Collins didn't really have because he's a little bit younger. So that's a positive thing for Mayle. We actually signed him from Alfreton as well, rather than just as a full-on freebie. Luke Walsh is a backup winger for both sides. Don't expect to see him starting anytime soon, but he's 22. 2.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential ability. Again, played 2 full seasons at this level and half a season at the level up, and I've brought him in as a backup player, but he can offer cover for both Stanley and Cottrell on either side, so we don't have to keep playing Jake Wright out. Jake Wright, is that his name? I think it is. So we don't have to keep... I need to learn my player's name, so we don't have to play him out there quite so often. Cameron Mason is our backup keeper. Nothing spectacular, but again, decent amount of experience at this level, and we brought him in as a backup, which does bode very well. Jacob Greaves is a young centre-back, 20 years old, 3-star current ability, 4-star potential ability, theoretically now the best centre-back at the club, although I do have my reservations because he's only 5'9" and can't really head, but has the potential to be a National League centre-back in the future, was at Hull. We'll see how he gets on. I don't know how I feel about 5'9" centre-back. And we've also brought in Lewis Isherwood, who's 20 years old, another centre-back, bit taller, bit better at heading, not quite as good at actual footballing though, but we do have 4 decent centre-backs now: Greaves, Carter, Parry and Isherwood. Isherwood was at Wigan previously. That's it for the first batch. Now we're just waiting for scout reports to come in. I'm happy with the squad as it is right now. If we have a look at our squad depth, obviously we've got Powell, Wright, Archer. We've signed Cameron Archer to another proper contract again. I know we switched him to non-contract, but after all the trials came in, there weren't any trialists who were better than Cameron Archer. So actually, if it wasn't for Mick Powell being Mick Powell, Cameron Archer would be a superstar at this level. So Cameron Archer is signed on a proper contract again as our backup, along with Wright. So I think we're sorted for strikers. Cottrell and Stanley, we know how good they are. We've now got Walsh as backup. We could probably do with one more backup winger, but we're not desperately searching for one. In midfield, we've got Benson, Buckley and Pozo. Probably could do with another backup because Shane Phillips and Jack Evans, they're both defensive midfielders really. We don't want to have to play them further forward. And likewise, could maybe do with one more body here. Phillips, Pozo, Evans are really the only ones who can play there. It would be nice to have an extra one if Pozo is going to be playing a bit further forward. It would be nice to have another left back. Cottrell is our backup left back according to this. Critchlow Noble really our only option at left back. Doesn't tell the whole story because we have got Ryan John down in the youths, who's almost as good as Critchlow Noble but not currently in the first team squad. Davis, I don't know where the new right back is. He's not showing on there for some reason. All the new centre backs we know they exist. And then we've got the goalkeepers as well. They've obviously gone into the under-23 squads, I guess. But I'm pretty happy with the squad as it stands right now. So we're just waiting for special Connor Stanley type players to turn up now. And we'll add to the squad if we need to. Otherwise, we're going to be running way under budget for this season. I don't know how that fits with the season preview. We're now second favourites. We've got Powell and Stanley both in the Media Dream 11. I think we're probably going to be okay with what we've got. We're just going to add to it with special players now. 1st of August then, our first game of the season is next week. It might be the first transfer window where we've not had to scroll. I have brought in a couple more players. This one looks like a good one. Joseph Colley, 22-year-old Gambian international, 3.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability, centre-back. We've given him a big boy contract. He's already good enough for the National Leagues. Could be good enough for League Two in the future. We now have a real top-quality centre-back, previously of Chelsea and West Ham. The only problem is that got Manny Parry in a grumpy, so Manny Parry left. If we go on to the released players list, he got a grump on. In fact, he's fallen on his feet, though. Goodness me. He's signed for Kettering on £425 a week in our division. I hope he doesn't come back to bite us. That's far more money than he was ever earning with us. So Parry is gone, one of our highly influential players from last season. The only other player we've brought in is William Warnock, who's a 20-year-old centre-back. A backup one, 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential, really just coming in as a 4th/5th option. Now Parry has gone, he's previously of Cardiff. Outs, there's one of note, which surprised me a little bit. Kieran Sheridan, remember him? Plays for Nottingham Forest now. He's still only 20 years old. He did play a lot of games for us in the first couple of seasons when we were still playing with an attacking midfielder. Didn't get a look in last year. My big worry is he's big mates with Mick Powell. In fact, it doesn't say on there. On Mick Powell's one, he always used to go on about how well they used to play together. But yeah, Kieran Sheridan has gone to the Championship, presumably just for a year, and then he'll drop back down into non-league again. But it's good to see him get his opportunity. Jack Henchcliffe's also left as well. There might be one or two more before the first game of the season, but don't get your hopes up. I think we're done. There were two more in the end. Firstly, Jake Greatorex, who I mainly signed because I liked his name, but he is actually vaguely equivalent to our backup keeper. So, yeah, Greatorex. What a name. And then Reece Fenlon is another backup striker for us to compete with Archer for that spot on the bench. 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential. My scouts reckon he's my coaches even think he's very well suited to this league and can improve. Was at Burnley before. He's there as another body, but as it stands, we're going to play our first game of the season. Not now, on tomorrow's episode, but we've sold more players, or sent to other clubs, I guess. There are lots more who were released, but there's one more who's released. Okay, but there's more players who've left the club than have come in, and that's never happened before. And this is what our team's going to look like for the first game of the new season. Very, very familiar. The only two changes from last year's 11 are major upgrades. Colley as an upgrade over Parry. That's got to be an improvement. And new goalkeeper Mail, who actually is roughly equivalent to Collins, but like I say, has the potential to end up better than he was. It's the bench where we get a bit of a new look with some fresh faces down there. But that is for tomorrow's episode. This is what the finances look like at the end of the summer. Not a complete disaster, but we are going to need some investment as the season goes on. But I'm particularly proud of the fact that I'm only spending half the wage budget. So I'm doing my bit to help out with that. And we've actually built a squad that is an improvement on last year with some more strength in depth and several more permanently contracted players for roughly what we were spending last year. So to me, that seems like a pretty good summer. If you have enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.